Hello, everyone. Welcome to our conversation this evening about micro high schooling and the benefits now and as we go forward into the future of what this new model of education looks like and why we're going to start seeing more and more of it in future as people find the courage and the insight to start making the changes that are really needed in our educational system today. So my name is Kshama Kellogg. I'm the director at Living Wisdom High School in Palo Alto. I am an education for life specialist and have been working in the field of education and consciousness for the last decade or more. Today, we're talking specifically about Living Wisdom High School in Palo Alto. We are both a in-person brick and mortar school. We're also an online program, and we offer both methods of instruction with full academic coursework through 9th to 12th grade, and a huge array of other experiential, life skill and values-based educational experiences for students. We are part of a larger network of schools. There are Living Wisdom schools and education for life-based schools around the world. Also here in the Bay Area, we have partnership and are an extension of the Living Wisdom School, which has been in Palo Alto for the last 30 years in a K or transitional kindergarten through 8th grade program. About 5 years ago, we as a school made the decision to expand into the high school years. That was really primarily driven by our awareness of the dysfunctionality of the educational system and how detrimental it really is to our young people. Many of you will remember the whole string of suicides that took place some years ago in this area, and that highlighted the trauma and the discontent and the lack of our ability as a mainstream educational system to create spaces for learning where students are deeply cared for and where they have connection with the meaning behind their education and where they understand the deeper realities of life and what brings fulfillment and lasting happiness. So as a school, Living Wisdom came together and began putting in motion steps to create an alternative for secondary education for high school, so that when our students leave 8th grade and when other young people in the area are ready to step into the all-important high school years, they have access to a holistic, meaningful, joy-filled experience that will then launch them into the rest of their lives with qualities and skill sets for lasting success and happiness. So with that, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about microschooling and what Education for Life is, which is our guiding philosophy. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a presentation to share with you. Today, we're talking about 7 of the strengths of microschooling, or specifically micro high schooling. First thing I want to highlight is that there are a wide array of studies done on high schoolers to find out what their engagement is with their learning in high school. And about 75% of them report that the majority of their experience of learning in high school produces feelings of boredom, discontent, and stress. So that is something that we are working very actively to transform. Students who come and work with us very quickly start to awaken to an enjoyment of the learning process and a love of learning, which translates into greater success in all of the areas that they engage with. We have a personalized and what we call a university model of coursework. What that means is that every student who comes into Living Wisdom High School works with a counselor mentor to design a personalized learning plan. This takes into account their current abilities, their interests, their strengths and areas of challenge, and their long-term goals. We work with them to create a set of coursework that is academically rigorous and appropriate for their next level of challenge, and also fulfilling, connecting with and tapping into all of the things that they would like to be learning. So students take coursework and they complete all of the required courses for high school graduation. We have an incredible team of teachers here that work in small groups and one-on-one with students to dive into those studies. And then in addition to that, we offer an amazing array of elective classes and advanced pathways, and also experiential learning pathways, which I'll talk about momentarily. We are a blended learning community. So some of our courses are what we call synchronous. So they're happening in real time with teachers, with a group of students, or one-on-one. There's really vibrant, dynamic, alive discussion, conversation. A lot of our work is project-based, so students are not just passively receiving information, but they are engaged in the processes of research, sharing, building, teaching, creating, really dynamically involved in the process of learning. We also partner with several organizations, online organizations, so students can take asynchronous coursework, which means that they may enroll in a course of study that they can do at their own pace, at their own time, and work through either at an accelerated rate or taking the time to go back and reinforce and deepen what they're learning until they reach a level of mastery, and then they can move forward. And then we also work with our community college network here in the Bay Area, and students who are really ready for an advanced learning opportunity and have the maturity and the intellectual capacity and the drive, the personal interest to pursue some advanced courses of study or to dive into subject areas that they would otherwise not have access to. They can take coursework at our community colleges. Those can be done either online or in person. We do also offer honors and some AP coursework for students who qualify and are interested. So there's a lot of different ways that students learn, but we especially focus on helping them in this university model where they're drawing on different resources and learning in a much more individualized way, personalized way. We work with them to build skill sets of responsibility and time management and study skills so that they are really successful and ready to launch into whatever their next pathway of learning is after high school as well. We are dedicated to personal excellence. So instead of placing a bar that we expect every student to meet, and in many cases that bar for some is too high and for others is too low, we work with each individual to determine what is their next step of growth, what is their next readiness level, and how do we help them achieve and grow into a higher level of excellence for themselves. Our learning processes and our coursework is mastery-based, and so students are supported to go into learning until they reach a level of mastery before they go on. There's a lot of self-reflection in this process. There's a lot of dialoguing and receiving direct feedback from teachers. All of this are things that you can do within a micro school that are simply not possible in a mass-produced educational system. When a teacher is working with anywhere from 30 to 150 students on a daily basis, there's no way that they can spend the time and give the personalized attention to students to help them really achieve their potential and move towards their personal excellence, not only in academic ways, but also in their internal qualities. You know, the qualities that cultivate and lead us to a fulfilling, happy lifestyle. So those are the first 2 of the 7 skills or qualities or elements of Living Wisdom High School, which is a micro high school. The third is internships and experiential learning. This is enormous and something that we make sure every student who comes to our program experiences. There are a lot of different ways that this happens. All students participate in what we call passions projects. And many people today are talking about passion, and there's a lot of discussion about what that means. This is a process of discovering and developing, nurturing, cultivating passion, which doesn't just mean that it drops in and poof, it's there and you just love it immediately. It's the process of developing excellence, developing relationship with, finding your strength in areas of interest and building a passion, developing a relationship with that area of study or that skill set that creates a deeper connection and a sense of fulfillment in that process. So students participate in passions projects where they work with a faculty mentor and a professional mentor in an area of their choosing. A student might choose to explore literary publishing or computer science or neuroscience or photography or music production. There's a lot of different directions students can take with this. They then go through a process of imagining and then designing a project for themselves and a process of study that will help them to learn and dive into that area and then create and engage with it in a meaningful way. At the end of the process, there is a community sharing and reflection time where they get to come together and show what it is that they've done and talk about their process and growth through that process. Oftentimes, these projects lead into a next level of exploration or study, and sometimes they even lead into a further partnership with the professional mentors that the student has been paired with. You might see a student who's exploring neuroscience paired with a medical professional, and that might lead into visits to the hospital, participation in or observation of medical procedures, or discussions with teams of doctors, things like that. So they're getting exposure into an area or field that they may want to go into. Sometimes that even catapults them into opportunities for longer, deeper internships and learning experiences. Additionally, we work with experiential learning in that within the context of all of the curriculum that students are studying, they are invited into experiential learning projects. So if you're in physics, you might be building, instead of just learning about Newton's cradle, you might be building it, creating it, doing. And in the process, you're building all sorts of other life skills and practical applications. We also do a lot of outside of the classroom learning, and we do life skill training. So that can be anything from outdoors wilderness training to culinary arts, to learning about sustainability and farming, to community development and design, but always with the idea of infusing into our young people these opportunities to learn and not just passively receive, but to engage in the process and develop leadership and skill sets that they can take into their lives after high school. We are also a community of cooperation rather than competition. Especially here in Silicon Valley, what we see in the educational system is an incredibly toxic environment where students are vying for and in competition with one another almost constantly. And here at Living Wisdom, we've flipped that around and emphasized cooperation and personal excellence. So students are driven not by external have tos or shoulds or trying to be better than someone else, but by the internal experience of how do I improve? How do I become stronger? And then how do I take my skill sets that I'm developing and offer them back into my community to help everyone raise themselves up to a higher level, to a higher octave? The more we support one another in becoming, and the more we come together in cooperation, the more healthful our whole society will become when we're looking out for each other and supporting one another, being able to even show up when conflicts and challenges arise and work through them rather than splintering off and becoming an us versus them kind of environment. So we emphasize and support cooperation, and we give students tools for building that. We model a lot of ways of building a cooperative community, including having a lot of discussion and bringing students into the leadership of the school. So they have a lot of say about what works for them, what they need, what they would like to see. And faculty and families, we take that into account and use that to inform how we move forward and what we can create and provide that will really be of support to the young people who are in this community. Self-expansion, number 5. Self-expansion is at the heart of all that we're doing, helping each individual to expand and awaken and open into the highest potential that is already within them. We do that not only through the cultivation of personal excellence and experiential learning and creating community and allowing students to pursue pathways of interest. We also do it by helping teenagers who have, they're in a time of life that is full of self-consciousness, and there can sometimes be a drawing inwards or closing off of the self, but through avenues of service, through avenues of travel, entrepreneurship, and sports and athletics, we watch and see students come out of themselves in extraordinary ways and open up to life, so that these teenage years, which are so much about young people building their willpower and discovering how they impact the world and how they can really make an imprint in life. Through these tools, they learn how to do that in a healthful, successful way. Service is a central part of every student's experience at Living Wisdom, and that might be that they are a peer mentor for a younger student, teaching them how to read or supporting them in developing skills like chess, or maybe helping to coach younger children who are in a sport. We do a lot of travel. And when I say that, I mean what we call service adventure travel. So there's always, at the core of what we're doing, there's a commitment to experiencing cultures and people who live differently than we do, with the openness to learn from them and to share, so that there's mutual exchange. At the heart also of these experiences is service. What can we give? Not only are we coming into a place to learn and receive and experience and appreciate, but also what is it that we can offer? And sometimes that's as simple as the quality of graciousness that we bring, but always there's also an act of service or an engagement locally with giving back to wherever we are. These trips can be domestic, and our program and sister programs have traveled across the United States to work in, could be animal shelters, it could be working on sustainable organic farms, it might be going and serving in national park systems. It can also be international. And 2 years ago, our program traveled to Scotland. We were invited, a group of students were invited to attend a climate change and consciousness conference as youth delegates. And so they went and listened and learned and also shared within a community of scientists and activists and Indigenous wisdom leaders also. It was a very, very transformative experience for all of us. We've also, in our sister programs and in this program, traveled to places such as Mexico, Nepal, South Africa, really all over the world, Costa Rica, and again, like I said, places within the United States as well. Within that process, students are empowered to not only attend these trips, but also to earn the money to go on them and to plan them. So throughout the year, students do fundraising, they take up jobs, they work together to create jobs. We've had students who've started educational programs for young students. They have done other entrepreneurial pursuits, both online and in person. Some will take up a job in a local neighborhood business, all sorts of things. But there's a lot of growing into what it means to be an employee, an employer, how to work well with people, what does work ethic look like, how to budget, how to plan. Students work with a faculty mentor to decide how we're traveling, where we're staying, where we're serving, what the focus of the trip will be. So there's a lot of leadership that's built into it. And then in addition to all of these travel experiences and service opportunities, we also offer athletics. We are part of the Bay Area Small School Athletic League, and we offer sports based on student interest. It looks like this year there will be probably basketball and volleyball. There's also interest in dodgeball, possibly cross country. So in all of those ways, we support students in growing in self-expansion and raising themselves into the highest octave of who they are. All of these that I've talked about so far are, they're both internal and external growth points. One of the key and core foundations that supports all of that is that our students experience meditation and centering practices on a daily basis. These are both focused periods within the school day and also touch points that reinforce and deepen students' relationship with inner experiences. Living Wisdom is not a religious school, but we are a program that recognizes the spiritual nature of every living being. And we honor and recognize that there are many traditions and many pathways that people follow in seeking truth and understanding lasting happiness. And we support young people in doing inner exploration to discover who they are, and what it is that they can do to bring lasting happiness. All of us need central experiences of calmness, happiness, compassion, clarity, wisdom, and I would say intuition. And all of that can be developed through quiet meditation practices, through yoga practices, through martial arts training. And so we weave together meditation and all of the other centering practices that I've talked about into student experience. These, they strengthen students' body-mind connection, they develop concentration, and they decrease stress and anxiety. So all of that is foundational for every other aspect of our program. And then bringing it all together, students are learning in a community that's rooted in respect and cooperation and kindness. They learn in small groups, but they also experience one-on-one mentorship. So there's a close connection between student and teacher, and there's learning that happens on both sides. Teachers are not only providing the learning, but we are constantly in relationship with the young people whom we serve, and we learn from them just as much as they teach us. There's also mentorship that happens. Students very frequently meet with their core faculty to discuss learning and growth points, to receive feedback on their work, but also to engage in dialogue around more personal things and inner growth experiences. And students receive one-on-one mentoring by a key mentor and counselor at the school as well. And this covers a wide array of topics. Students often talk with their mentor about personal growth points and self-discovery. Teenage years are so much about discovering who we are. And so there's openness for that kind of private conversation to happen. There's also a lot of coaching that takes place in building life skills, study habits, communication skills, finding support for academic areas where additional mentorship or guidance is needed. Students are held so fully through all of the integration of these 7 points. Micro schooling is, in a sense, you hear the word micro and you think, oh, it's so small. But in a way, this kind of education amplifies the opportunities and the growth points for students in really, really remarkable ways. We have in both this school and in our sister school programs about a 20+ year record of watching teenagers go through high school and then go on to all sorts of learning pathways. They go to universities, domestic and international. They go into entrepreneurial pursuits. They take sometimes gap years and then come back to their studies. What I have seen is in these young people, they have an incredible sense of who they are, how they want to serve in the world, what's meaningful to them, and they make choices that not only lead them to outer success, but to deep inner personal success and happiness as well. In the last 2 years, our school in Palo Alto has graduated 8 students, and they have gone on to Santa Clara University, San Jose State. We have some that are at Foothill College and Diablo Valley College, which are community colleges, UC San Diego, Chapman University, Cal Poly. And then we had one student who finished her 10th grade and was ready for college. She wanted to go on. She went to early college at Bard College at Simon's Rock. We also have a student who's taking a year of art, self-directed gap year, and then he'll be launching into an art program after this year. And you can see below here also there's quite a few other schools that our students were admitted to, did not choose to enroll there, but these are schools that they've been invited to attend as well, including New York University, Boston College, UC Davis, George Washington University, and the list goes on and on and on. I share this with you simply because sometimes when families know that a change is needed and are so inspired by a opportunity that's presented to them, like Living Wisdom High School, there's sometimes a little bit of hesitation. Will this work for me? Will my child still be okay? Will they be able to go on and be successful? I know they'll be happy, but what does it look like afterwards? And so this is just an opportunity for you to see and to know that our students go on to all sorts of excellent learning opportunities after high school when they've gone through a Living Wisdom micro high school experience. When you're ready to enroll, the steps for that would be to go to our website, livingwisdomhighschool.org. You'll find an admissions page there with an online application. There's no application fee. Simply fill out the form. There's a part for the student to complete and a part for a guardian to complete. After that's submitted, we'll be reaching out to you. We'll schedule for you to either come on campus or to meet with us online for some conversation and exploration. This process of admission is really about coming to know each other and beginning the process of partnership, student, family, and school. And so we'll have some conversation. We'll then invite you in, if you haven't already come in, to see the campus and get acquainted. You may be able to talk with some of the other families who've made the choice to be a part of Living Wisdom High School. And from there, we'll process your application and give you feedback about next steps in admissions. So I look forward to talking with all of you and meeting with you in the near future. Feel free to email me directly also if you would like to. You can reach me at director@livingwisdomhighschool.org, and I'm happy to answer questions, begin the conversation, and then support you through the application process. I know there will be questions now, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and as you are ready, we can engage in more dialogue about microschooling and what it might mean to be enrolled at Living Wisdom High School. Thank you all for being with us.